where all the cool kids go. The friendly info will show you around. We reward him with the fresh souls of our customers. Candles, t-shirts, blended teas, and so much more. Tags on deck, horror shop you will never want to leave. Your friendly info will show you around. We reward him with the fresh souls of our customers. Candles, t-shirts, blended teas, and so much more. Daylights on deck, horror shop you will never want to leave. Take you back. Let's rewind that old horror film. What's that in the background? Something is out of place. Someone shouldn't be there. That line is odd. That reflection is misplaced. Let's have fun finding all the mistakes in our favorite horror films. Let me take you back. Let's rewind that old horror film. Howdy, gang. Hopefully, I don't sound choppy because my connection is still going up and down. I really don't know what the deal is. I had heard that AT&T was having some trouble, Spectrum was having trouble, so I don't know if that's what's going on here or not. It's telling me my connection is unstable, so hopefully I'm clear on y'all's end. If I'm not, someone please let me know and I can, if I'm buffering on your end or, it sounds like I'm stuttering or the audio's choppy, the video's choppy, whatever, just somebody let me know and I will take myself out of the stream and bring myself back because sometimes that helps when that happens. But otherwise, I guess I'll keep going. I thought, if we rebooted our router and modem, that would fix the issue, but it did not seem to get this little symbol to go away. So I'm going to attempt to do this. It's staying on an unstable signal. I really don't know what's going on with it. I'm going to slide over here and look at my device here. I mean, yeah, I can't figure it out because I've checked, I've done a speed test, and our speed is fine. So y'all just let me know. Otherwise, I won't be the wiser unless I go and check this afterwards. Of course, it'll be too late afterwards. But I want to welcome everybody to the first edition of Horror Movie Rewind. This is going to be a series. I don't know if it's going to be like a regular, like a Monday night series or not. I'm just getting started. We'll see how popular this is. I had a few people in here now. I've got 0. So I don't know if it's StreamYard. It's, I'm choppy and y'all don't want to tell me. or you're just not interested in what I'm about to talk about. But I did quite a fair amount of work in preparation for this, so I hope somebody at least watches it. If you don't watch it live, you watch it, on the replay. Um, but what we're going to do with this series, if you hadn't figured out, is talk about the Goofs and some of our favorite horror movies. And I don't know about you guys and gals, but I love like stuff that I've seen. Now, I don't want to sit there and pick out Goofs in a movie that I've never seen before. But if it's a movie I've seen hundreds of or thousands of times, it's fun to go back and see, oh, how many of these goofs, these mistakes did I not notice on these multiple viewings of this film? And some people are really good at picking out goofs. That's why you have a whole boatload of sites out there, websites devoted to movie goofs, and not just for horror movies, for other movies as well. Um, but I'm also going to be talking about a little trivia. That's the extra credit trivia part once we get through the Goofs. Now, when I said I had painstakingly went through the movie to try to have visuals to show you guys and gals, that is exactly what I mean. I've went through the movie. I've went through my list of goofs and mistakes, and I have, screenshotted. There was only one of these that I could not find the goof that they were talking about. And when I get to that one, I'll tell y'all. But the others, I was able to see them. But we're going to get started here in just a second talking about these goose, and then we're going to go into the trivia. And that's really bothering me that signal strength will not change. Can anybody that's in here now tell me if I'm buffering or not? Can somebody just drop me a line in there? Because it's really bothering me. And I don't, I would hate to do this whole stream and it be choppy as hell and nobody could make sense of what I was saying and all that. So if somebody can please say, okay, you're coming through clear, you're not choppy or anything. It's not glitching. It's not buffering. I'd really appreciate it before I go through several minutes of going through this stuff and nobody can understand it. Or maybe nobody cares. That's a possibility too. Because it's staying on the unstable status, and usually it pops up and goes back to the fairly good status. And now I've lost everybody. So perhaps people don't like me asking, but anyway, we're going to get started with these, regardless of if anybody tells me if I'm coming through clear or not. I'm going to go through these goofs, mistakes, and a little bit of trivia. But I wanted to remind you that hopefully I should be able to do a Dick's Picks tomorrow night, more cannon fodder on Wednesday night. I have a dentist appointment on Thursday, but Steve assures me they're not going to do any work on my teeth at that time. So hopefully I'll be able to be back at the house and be able to actually do it. They're all messed up. No Friday Foolishness Friday because I have to work a late Friday. Will be no watch-alongs this weekend, but the following weekend there will be. So make sure you get your votes in for the current watch-alongs choices that are up now. If you want to have any say-so in what movie is chosen for each one of those 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. But also, be sure to go over to deadeyesondeck.com. Tell them Poe sent you. Poe, of course, is the official mascot of the Deadites on Deck car shop. See what all I have over there. I think I got some pretty cool stuff. I've got t-shirts and hats and tote bags and mouse pads and blended teas and candles. Um, and if you're not a horror fan, or you are a horror fan and you don't see exactly what you're wanting on there and you've got an idea for a design, please fill out the form on the homepage of the shop and let me know what it is that you would like me to put on a shirt or a tote bag or a mouse pad or a hat, even candles. Or, if you have an idea for a blended tea, let's see if we can make that a reality for you. I would be glad to do that. Movie roulette is also in full effect because this is a live stream. And how can you play movie roulette? Simply by giving a $5 or more super chat, you can pick any movie of your choosing for me to watch and do a review over on an upcoming movie roulette. So keep that in mind, folks. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started with talking about the Goofs in American Werewolf in London. Okay. So keep in mind, I'm not just going to be sitting here just reading these off. I'm actually got visuals to show you. So when David and Jack are walking on the moors near the beginning of the film, their shadows are always in front of them, despite them changing direction numerous times. Because remember the werewolf, they can hear the werewolf around there and they're going one direction then the other, but their shadows are always in front of them. Additionally, with the moon always being behind them, how are their faces being lit? Well, of course we know movie magic, but I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of this to illustrate. So here you can see the shadows right there. I've circled them in red. David and Jack's shadows are in front of them. Okay. So in the second one, you can barely see David and Jack. But again, you see that their shadows are in front of them. And trust me, they have changed direction of where they were going in the film. Okay. So again, I'll show you that first picture of their shadows in front of them. And also the second one where they've changed direction and yet again their shadows are still in front of them. Okay. So when David's doctor, after they're attacked by the werewolf, Jack is killed, David is in the hospital. He goes to East Proctor, where the boys were at the beginning of the film, because David's going on and on about there was this creature. We were attacked by a wolf creature. And the doctor, of course, is skeptical. But he goes to East Proctor and he goes to the Slaughtered Lamb pub where David and Jack went at the beginning of the film. And he has a Guinness beer. Okay. So I'm going to show you a series of pictures here, but the level of liquid in the doctor's beer mug changes noticeably between shots. And then to top it off, the mug fills itself up again just before he leaves the pub, and he didn't add anything. And in fact, he had taken a couple of drinks, but it magically fills back up. So I'm going to show you about 5 pictures. So here's the first picture. It looks pretty full there, right? So let's take a look at the second one. The second one, it looks like it's starting to go down. It still has a little bit of foam there. And then if we look at the third one, it seems to kind of be hovering around the same area. So we look at the fourth picture, he's actually taking a drink and it's visibly going down at that point. There's still a little foam there, but it's obviously going down. So if we look at the last picture, which is right before the doctor leaves the pub, you can see that it's almost filled all the way back up. So that's another goof. Okay, so there's a continuity mistake as the beer, going up and down in the glass in the mug. This is another continuity mistake. So when Jack first appears to David after he's dead, um, Jack uncovers food on the tray. He takes a piece of toast from another plate that's on the tray. But the silver cover on the tray changes position throughout the scene in various shots, and I'm going to show you that. Sometimes the cover is resting partly on the tray, and sometimes it's flat on the tray table surface. So I'm going to show you 3 different pictures. So this is the first one where you can see that, and I'm going to take a little Poe off of there for a second so y'all can see these pictures more clearly, okay? Just 1 second here. All right, so we can see there that the tray, Jack has taken the silver tray or silver top cover, whatever, and he set it on the tray table, okay? So that's the first shot. The second one, we see that it's kind of doing a balancing act here. It's kind of just slaying it a little bit off the tray. Okay. So when we look at the third shot, it's once again lying flat on the tray table. Okay. So another continuity mistake there. Now, this I don't actually have pictures of, but I do remember this being said in the dialogue in the film. So this is a factual error because though it's set in England, the hospital personnel, the nurses, the doctors and stuff, use American terms like charts and orderly. But in any British hospital, these should be case notes and porter. So instead of saying charts, they should say case notes. And instead of an orderly, they should say porter. Now, I've never been in a British hospital, so I can only go by what this website was telling me. So if I'm wrong, if you're a British person, you live in the UK, and this is not the case, please let me know. Okay. And I guess that my signal strength is going to be unstable throughout this. I hate to keep complaining about, but I don't know what is going on. The only thing that I know is I heard from some people that AT&T was having some problems the other day. I don't know if they're still having problems. And also Spectrum was having problems. We don't have Spectrum. We have AT&T fiber internet. So, okay, so this one might be a little bit hard to tell because I was trying to get a couple of good pictures, which I'm going to have to take some of these pictures off because StreamYard will only let me have 10 pictures up at one time. Okay, so permit me, guys and gals, to take some of these pictures out of the studio here. I wanted to have them all up here and ready to go, but alas, StreamYard will not let me do that. So let's get these couple of pictures up here. I wish it wouldn't automatically put them up there, so I didn't want to, but it does. So I guess they think, oh, well, no silly person's going to be putting that many pictures up. All right, so There's another continuity mistake. So in the scene where David, as a werewolf, exits the theater in Piccadilly Circus, causing general havoc and mayhem, there's a car that crashes into the one in front of it, sending the driver through the windshield. And it happens very quickly. So if you watch closely or use slow mo on your remote, you'll see that the driver goes through the windshield just before hitting the car in front of him or her. Okay, so I know that these aren't the best pictures, the best to illustrate this, but I'm going to go ahead and show them nonetheless. So here's the first one where you can see the body coming through the windshield. And then I wanted to get a better picture, but this is the body on the ground after that. So to be able to really see this, you will probably have to actually watch the film and do the slow-mo thing. Okay. All right. So we've got another one coming up here, and this is just a single picture. All right. So when the couple in the street are the first to be attacked by the werewolf, they've gotten out of a taxi and they're walking to a friend's apartment and they get attacked by the werewolf. But as they walk in the street past the houses, right after they get out of the cab, you can see a large studio light reflecting in the windows. And I had to run this back at least one time to be able to see that, oh yeah, that is a studio light. So here's the screenshot. You can see the lady walking there, but right here you can see that studio light or movie light or whatever you want to call it reflected. It's those big square lights and it's reflected in the window there. All right. So so we've got a plot hole coming up. So let me add a couple of more pictures here. All right. So the first time David turns into a werewolf, so he's reading a book in the obviously brightly lit apartment, Alex's apartment. There's exterior shots of a full moon that clearly shows that it's nighttime outside. So the lights inside the apartment obviously are on. In fact, we see a lamp, which I can show you this picture right here. We see that he's getting ready to turn into a werewolf here. The lamp is clearly on. The room is brightly lit. In fact, if you hear John Landis and Rick Baker talk about this transformation scene, it is said that John Landis wanted this to be happening in bright, harsh light. Okay? So, during the transformation scene, lights are all on, right? And then he turns into a werewolf and he goes out and starts a killing spree. Okay. So we got bright lights. David turns into a werewolf, leaves the apartment, and goes on a rampage. Right. Okay. But a few scenes later, when Dr. Hirsch calls to check on David, there's a shot of the phone ringing unanswered in a completely dark apartment. And I will show you the second picture. Here, this is clearly the room. You can see the chair that David was sitting in. This is not a bedroom or anything like that. You can see the fireplace. There's bookshelves. Here's the phone. You can clearly tell it's dark in there. This is a few scenes later when Dr. Hirsch calls to check up on David. And of course, he's turned into a werewolf, so he ain't answering the phone. So apparently, David was a very considerate, even he was very considerate even as a werewolf, and must have went around turning all the lights off before he went on his rampage. Very considerate, buddy. So that's a big, plot hole. Some of you might be thinking, well, geez, Dana, I don't care nothing about that. It doesn't detract from your enjoyment of the movie. I realize that. But it's still fun if you've watched these things hundreds or thousands of times to go back and find these things. Okay. So we're going to have another continuity mistake here. So I'm going to remove the couple of pictures that I just showed you. And we're going to, let's see. We're going to talk about David's toes when he turns into the werewolf for the first time. All right. Okay, so we're going to. All right. Okay, so this is another, like I said, continuity mistake. So when David has his first transformation, as his feet start to change, and the camera kind of zooms in on this, his big toes grow. And I'm going to show you this first picture here. His big toes grow, which you can obviously see there, right? And his pinky toe stay in place. So you can kind of see the pinky toe here and a little bit over there, right? Then when it switches and shows David on his back, which is this view here. His pinky toes are the same length as his index, his middle, and his ring toes, which we can see this clearly. But his big toes haven't changed position. They've just changed shape, right? Okay. So, and you can see that it's a little blurry because these were action shots, but you can see what I'm talking about there. Okay. Also, another continuity mistake, which I'm going to bring up here momentarily, folks. Let's see. We're going to talk about two different views of the David's claws in the movie. One near the, when the first transformation happens, and then near the end of the film. You're going to see how it looks different. So when David begins his first transformation, I'm going to add this first picture here. His nails turn into claws, as you can see there. It's no fingernails. They're just, they've become claws. Hey, Wes, you say, how's it going, Dana? You should do a video on American Werewolf in Paris. That one nobody talks about. Well, maybe I'll do that. Mainly these streams are going to be about movie Goofs, but I'm sure there's movie Goofs for American Werewolf in Paris too. Hey, Gory Tiger. So his nails turn into claws during the first transformation scene. So at the end of the movie, which I'm going to show you the second picture, when he's in the porno theater, and he's going through the final transformation of the movie, claws are seen sprouting from his nails. So you said that whole movie is good. I think I've watched it, Wes, but probably just that one time. So you can clearly see a difference between the first transformation and the final transformation in the movie. with these pictures. Um, okay. So this one I didn't really have pictures of, so you would just have to watch the film. So when David changes into a werewolf for the first time, you can see his huge feet vibrate when he moves his legs in agony because they are made of rubber. Well, obviously, yeah, we get that. Now, here's the mistake that I could not find. And I couldn't find it with David. I couldn't find it with Jack. Okay. So apparently somebody claims that either David or Jack appears to have a magic jacket. It changes color twice during the movie from blue to brown to green. Honestly, folks, I didn't see it. But if one of you guys and gals out there finds that and has got some photographic proof of that, please share it with me. I may have a prize for you if you can do that, because I honestly didn't find it. Okay. So here's another one that I don't specifically have a clip or a picture. You would just literally have to watch the movie to see this in action. So once the doctor arrives at the pub in Yorkshire to investigate it, as usual, it rains. Okay. It is plainly visible that the rain is water sprayed from several hoses, and I could see that. But again, that's just something you would have to actually watch the movie and see. Okay. Here's another continuity mistake. And I'm going to bring a series of pictures up here. I've got a few different pictures. So allow me to get these up here. I'm sorry that I have to do it this way, folks, but like I said, StreamYard will only let you put 10 pictures up here at a time. So blame it on StreamYard. If anybody knows a better way I could do it, you can let me know. All right, so let's bring this first picture up. This is when basically Alex is played by Jenny Agutter, is force feeding David pretty much because he's refusing to eat in the hospital. So when Alex is feeding David in the hospital, his scar on his face here will change in the shot. So we see how the scar looks here, right? So let's look at this second picture. See how they've kind of changed positions, and they've also kind of changed shape and gotten longer. Or that one especially looks longer to me there. So if we look at the third picture, again, it kind of looks like it's got a curve. The second one does. And it's probably just, they put the makeup on at different times and it was never exactly the same as it was the time before. So when we look at a fourth picture, we can see again that one looks a lot longer there. And the other one doesn't look nearly as defined. So again, if we look at the fifth one, you can see how very narrow and extremely long this one has become. And this one's really short and kind of looks more like a scrape than a deep, cut. So let's get rid of some of these pictures. Okay. So another continuity mistake coming up is in reference to the character of Jack. So, let's see here. Got a couple of pictures to show for this one. All right. So the first werewolf never actually damaged Jack's face. I mean, he clawed at his neck and his chest and stuff like that. But believe me, I went back and I watched the movie. He does not. The werewolf miraculously does not scrape Jack's face. Okay, and we can see in this picture when Jack is killed here, you can see blood that's splattered on his face, but the real gore is down here in his throat and his chest area. Okay, but when David actually sees Jack come back from the dead or the undead or whatever you want to call it, you can notice these two very visceral claw marks on his face. He didn't have them here, right? But he has them here. So they must have decided to get really explicit with the gore there. Okay. So there's that one. So there's also a very revealing mistake when David has his first werewolf transformation. And that is during the process that we're treated to, hair developing, bones painfully lengthening and twisting. It looks very, very painful. And the torso, but if you notice, and I'm again going to show you some pictures here, or one picture actually. Okay. So if you look at this, and it may be something that you have to pause, and you can also see that in this one, very clearly those fingernails have changed into claws. There's no claws sprouting from the fingernails. But what I want you to really look at, and this is something that the werewolf transformation happens pretty quickly in the film. And I still maintain that even though you can see these airs, this is still one of the greatest werewolf transformations I've ever seen in a film. And I think Rick Baker did a fantastic job with this. But you can clearly see, and you might have to pause it to get the full effect of it, but you can clearly see in this picture that the torso of the actor is obviously down in the floor. And then this part that you're seeing here, this body that's right about here towards the middle, is a prosthetic. That's a big prosthetic. It's David Naughton's head and probably his arms. But like from about here down is a prosthetic. That's all it is. It's a big prosthetic. Okay. So we got about 3 more of these. Whoops. Okay. So we're going to remove that. So at the end of the movie, when David is killed, his body changes angle and moves between shots when he is dead. And there's basically 2 shots, and the angle does appear to be slightly different. So I'm going to show you guys, and there's no nudity. I mean, his twig and berries are covered up, folks. So let me find. So, I don't want to get in trouble with the the gods of YouTube, you know. So, all right. So we see this first picture. This is the first picture that we see. Um, yes, I know he's naked, but nothing's showing here, folks. I even added a little darkness there just in case. You're not even really seeing his ass in this. So this is after he's shot and he turns back into the man. He turns back into David. Um, this is the first angle. This is the first view we see. Okay. And then it switches back to Alex, and then we see this other view. So it is slightly different. He's turned slightly different. It's not a huge difference, and you probably wouldn't even, notice it if somebody wasn't, explicitly showing it to you. Um, so there's that one. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that, folks. I don't think y'all want to watch the intro again. All right. So here's another continuity mistake that took place during the near the beginning of the film after the guys are attacked. I've got a series of 3 pictures here that I'm going to show you. Keep wanting to hit the wrong buttons, folks. All right. So after the wolf kills Jack, the amount of blood on his face changes between shots. Okay. So I'm going to show you this first one. This is basically when the werewolf was still working on him. So you can see a little bit of blood on his face. I know it's a little bit bloody or blurry, I mean. So if we look at the second shot, there's visibly more blood here. And then there seems to be a preponderance of blood here in this area in the third shot. Okay. We got one more to tell you about. And then, which is a sample one. And I didn't even see this the first time around. When I was rewatching the movie last night, I was like, what are they talking about here? And then today, when I was rewatching it, it just, it jumped right out at me. I was like, oh, that's what they're talking about. All right. So this is another continuity mistake. So at the beginning of the film, after the guys when they first get out of the back of the truck with the sheep, David has dirt on his jacket, okay, which I'm going to show you here. It might be a little dark and hard to see, but there's some visible dirt or sheep shit one that's right here on his jacket, okay? And then a few seconds later, you don't see that dirt or whatever it is. So that's a pretty simple one, okay? So that is all the goofs that I had marked down to talk about. And amazingly enough, I've been on here almost 45 minutes. So we're gonna talk about some extra credit trivia, stuff that you can wow your friends with. So some of you may know some of this trivia, some of you may not. But I'm going to share it with you regardless. And you can listen if you want, or you can skedaddle on out of here if you want. But so when the movie was first shown in theaters, the marquee read from the director of Animal House, a different kind of animal. So this led many people that were going to the movies to believe that it was another comedy film. They're like, oh, he's making another comedy similar to Animal House. But people ended up running out of the theater in terror when they realized it was a horror movie. Okay, makeup artist Rick Baker originally wanted the werewolf to be a biped. And director John Landis refused. He said it had to be a four-legged hound from hell. And I kind of I like that it wasn't your typical guy turns into a werewolf and he's up on two legs. This one was actually on all fours, and I thought that was an interesting choice, and I think it worked really well for this movie. Uh, John Landis wanted to use a Cat Stevens song, Moonshadow, for the opening credits. Cat Stevens refused to let him use the song because Cat Stevens believed that werewolves actually existed. So I guess he didn't want to play around with that. Okay, so Rick Baker had promised a long time ago, he had promised John Landis that he would work with him on American Werewolf in London when John had enough money to make it. All right. So after waiting for 8 years, he waited 8 years. Rick decided to work on The Howling, another werewolf themed movie. One day, right out of the blue, John Landis called Rick Baker and told him he finally had the money to make an American Werewolf. According to Rick, when he informed John that he was already working on another werewolf movie, John started screaming and swearing at Rick. Rick calmed John down and told him he would still do American Werewolf in London and leave the werewolves for The Howling to Rob Bottin. Rick has stated that to this day, John has still not forgiven him for working on another werewolf movie. And from what I can tell about John Landis, I could imagine him doing that. Okay. So when Jack first appears to David in the hospital room as a corpse, Jack takes a piece of toast and he eats it. Originally, the toast was supposed to fall out of a hole in Jack's throat, but the censor said, we're nixing that because it's too disturbing. But I think it would have really worked and maybe even been kind of funny because there was that big hole in Jack's throat. Okay. In nearly every John Landis film, you can see or hear the phrase, see you next Wednesday. In this particular film, See You Next Wednesday is an adult film. In fact, it's the film that's playing in the porno theater near the end of the movie, American Werewolf in London. So when David is in Piccadilly Circus calling home, he speaks to his sister Rachel and asks where Max is. Apparently, Max is David's brother. So Rachel and Max are the names of director John Landis' children. Near the end of the movie, when David, as a werewolf, terrorizes Piccadilly Circus, there's a scene of a man standing in front of a store who is then being knocked backwards, and falls through the glass. This is the director, John Landis. Okay, here, for those of you that are fans of The Muppet Show, and I know Candace is a huge fan of The Muppet Show. She may find this interesting. The episode of The Muppet Show from 1976 that's playing on TV during David's nightmare sequence is indeed a real episode of The Muppet Show. But the portion that was shown on the TV in American Werewolf in London was never shown in the US. This is why it's been considered a fake episode and why Miss Piggy and Kermit are credited in this film. Okay, John Landis got the idea for this film while working on Kelly's Heroes, a film from 1970, as a production assistant in Yugoslavia. So while watching a gypsy funeral, and I know you're not supposed to use that term, but this is what it says. While watching a gypsy funeral where they lace the coffin with garlic so the corpse doesn't come back to haunt everyone, he wondered how a Western culture would react to being visited by a dead friend. Hence, Jack, after he's killed, coming back to visit David more than once. Because of this film, the makeup industry contributions became recognized by the Academy Awards in 1981. This film's visuals earned Rick Baker the first ever Academy Award to be bestowed upon a special effects artist, and I think that's great. So, when trying to call home, the telephone number that David Kessler gives the operator, which is 516-472-3402, contains a Long Island, New York area code. And apparently that is where David and Jack are from. It's also an unusual case where an actual phone number is used. Now, I'm sure that phone number is probably no longer in effect nowadays. And I'm not encouraging anybody to call it. You might scare an older person or something like that. I'm trying to turn this page. Yeah. All right, got a little bit more trivia here. So the woman that David runs into at the zoo, she's an older lady, was not told that David Naughton would be nude, just that a man would come out and say something. So if you watch that scene, the woman looks visibly, not really shocked, but appalled. And she's, you could imagine her saying, "Well, I never," because she's just like that. Um, Only 4 American work permits were requested of the British government for the production. One for director John Landis, one for makeup artist Rick Baker, and a couple for the actors David Naughton and Griffin Dunne. The first 3 work permits were granted by the British government without question. They didn't question it at all. But the British Office of Actors' Equity questioned the necessity of a work permit for Dunne, claiming that there were already plenty of young American actors living in Great Britain who could portray the role of Jack. So it was only when Landis threatened to rewrite the script and retitle the movie An American Werewolf in Paris. You need some Jello Steve, Uncle Bill? Jello Steve usually joins me whenever I'm doing watch-alongs. Maybe he'll show up, other times. But I'm glad you like Jello Steve. So after that, the Equity Office reconsidered the application and granted Dunne his work permit. I didn't know this either. The final look of the werewolf beast was based on makeup creator Rick Baker's dog, Bosco. And the final trivia of the night for An American Werewolf in London is this is the first film to earn the Academy Award for Best Makeup. That category was officially created in 1981. Okay. And since Uncle Bill has requested Jallo Steve, let me see if I can wake up Jallo Steve and see if he'll join us. Just hold on just 1 second. I gotta find him.
Ooh, sexy chick alert, Dana.
You like that, Uncle Bill? I can share some more. Let's see.
Can't stand this anymore, Dana. Make it stop.
I try to make these requests a reality for people when they ask for stuff.
Tell me again why I am doing this. Oh, I forgot. It's because you made me.
All right. So gave y'all a little Jello Steve tonight, even though he unexpectedly he showed up. Um, Getting low on my soft drink there. All right. So I've been on here for almost an hour, and you guys are probably sick of me by this point. But I hope that you have enjoyed the first episode of Horror Movie Rewind. You say, LOL, that's killer. Well, tune in for some more of my watch alongs and for movies that I think that Steve's not fond of or that he's tired of watching. Usually, well, real Steve is in bed. Jallow Steve's up at all hours of the day and night. He could pop up anytime. But real Steve is in bed. Um, but Steve won't ever join me for anything. So I said, well, do I have your permission to clone your voice and create Jallow Steve to join me sometime? So, um, and he said, yeah, sure. So because real Steve won't join me, Jallow Steve is a fill in for him, and you might even see an animated Jallow Steve that that looks like this. I haven't really used him yet, but I just thought this was funny because I was trying to make a Jallo Steve, not and it created like a Jallo Steve that looked like he was in a Jallo. Because check out this shirt here, you know. Um, and I don't know why he looks pissed off here, but whatever. But there's a cute little dog back here, and it looks almost like Freddy Krueger's on the television, and yeah.
Tell me again why I am doing this. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, sorry. When don't he look pissed off? Well, there's times where he don't look pissed off, Wes. Um, he's got to work 10-hour days for 3 days this week. But he gets off Thursday and Friday. Um, and I don't get off Thursday and Friday, but and I've got to go to the dentist on Thursday, which I'm not looking forward to. And I've got to work a late Friday. But if I can get through those 2 days, then Steve's going to take me and his mom on the dinner train in Bardstown. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So, um, but anyway, I guess I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. But I want to thank those of you that were able to join me tonight. The signal stayed the same throughout the whole thing, so I hope I wasn't choppy. I hope it wasn't buffering on y'all's end, and I hope y'all were able to enjoy the stuff that I was talking about. But I want to thank all of y'all that showed up for this first ever edition of Horror Movie Rewind. There's more to come. I just don't know if it's going to be a regular thing or just kind of a random thing whenever I feel like doing one of those. But I had a lot of fun with this one. It was a lot of fun going through the Goofs and handing out some trivia. And also, if anybody can find where either David or Jack's jackets changed from blue to green to brown in the film, because I couldn't find it, I may have a special prize for you if you can do that. Erie, Indiana series review coming soon. Well, Wes, I used to do a lot of those things with TJ, and TJ hasn't, not to say anything bad about TJ, but TJ has not expressed an interest in doing any of those horror on television shows in a long, long time. So I would rather do those when I have a co-host with me. So if anybody would like to join me for that, I'd be glad to do an Erie, Indiana um, review series. Um, but I just don't want to. I just don't want to do it by myself because they're just more fun with doing them with somebody. Um, but I'm going to go ahead and call it a night and get some rest. But again, thank you folks for showing up and hanging out with me as I went over the Goofs and some trivia for an American Werewolf in London. Stay tuned for another one of these. Um, and as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday night, folks. And I'll see everybody next time.